Hoda Kotb hints at heartbreaking interviews on Making Space. Hoda Kotb might have retired from her role as a co-host on the Today Show, but she is still working. Hoda still has her podcast, Making Space, going strong. She recently mentioned some of the guests who will be appearing on the show, and she made a veiled reference to the fact that at least 2 of them had her openly weeping during the interviews. Here is who is coming up as guests on Making Space and what Hoda said they brought to the show that made her cry. Hoda Kotb talks Making Space's Season 7. At least 2 guests are coming up for former The Today Show host Hoda Kotb's podcast Making Spaces, who appear to bring emotional stories to her show. Hoda's podcast has new episodes arriving every Wednesday, and it just started its 7th season on March 26. The first guest for her podcast's new season was former supermodel Elle Macpherson. This was an important interview for Hoda, as she and Elle have a lot in common. Both were known for their main careers, but they pivoted later in life and figured out their new place in the world. When I interviewed Elle Macpherson, she was talking about how she's had so many lives. She thought her life was being a supermodel, and when that went away, who was she? Hoda said. She goes, I thought that was it. What happened next when I lost my youthful appearance? That's how I've been defined my whole life. Buy it today. Hoda said that was interesting because she is also entering a new phase in her life. That's sort of how I feel, too, Hoda said. You're at this new phase in life, and you wonder, who am I if I'm not doing that? Who am I if I'm not anchoring the Today Show? This is one of the reasons that she loves hosting this podcast, as the stories are just as interesting to her as they are to her viewers. However, a couple of upcoming guests have Hoda emotional about their stories. Hoda Kotb says upcoming Making Spaces guests made her weep. Hoda Kotb mentioned 2 upcoming guests that had her weeping during their interviews. She will interview both of those guests together as she will speak to Christina Applegate and Jamie Lynn Sigler, who co-host their own podcast. Both of the women have MS. What I noticed is these 2 women are both going through the muck, but in it, they're helping each other, Hoda said. There was a particularly telling moment. Christina is in a very depressed state, saying, I just want to boogie board again. I just want the basic things that I just had. And my heart broke. Hoda said that this was so hard for her to hear, and she realized what these women were going through.